All right, Brent, what's your first one?
All right, I'm excited about this one. In a world where most grown men have real jobs, a degenerate few sit around betting horses.
Veto. No, no good.
I worked really hard on that one. All right, something more classical. How about the masters of disasters, the kings of sting, the counts of Monte Cristo?
No, terrible. Number 3.
All right, how about this one? Now, the hottest and most sensual production in all of horse racing, the LoneSpeed Show.
You nailed it.
Yes! Yes!
Go with that.
All right, here we go. And now, the hottest and most sensual production in all of horse racing, the LoneSpeed Show.
And it only took 2.5 years longer than planned.
I worked really hard on those.
You did fantastic. You did an amazing job. I'm glad that you're here. You were supposed to be Michelle Yu. We've discussed this.
I know.
So LoneSpeed was going to be, well, it was going to be a lot of things, but the podcast was going to be, who do you like? Because my last name is Du, her last name is Yu, but then I realized, is Michelle Yu really the right co-host? And you can understand, she's prettier than I am.
She is.
She knows more about horse racing than I do.
True.
Is my ego too fragile to allow myself to be upstaged in both areas?
It is.
You are prettier than I am.
I know.
But our horse racing knowledge is equal. So I don't feel like I'm being upstaged here.
I am honored.
And you can understand why someone would not want to be upstaged by Michelle Yu.
Right.
Have I told you the Michelle Yu Kentucky Oaks dress story?
You have not.
We touched on it very briefly. So I'm working for KentuckyDerby.com. This is like 2010, okay? And I'm in the press box at Churchill Downs. And these well-known turf riders, racing personalities, are for whatever reason actually listening to what I have to say, okay? And I've actually got their attention. And about a minute or two into my story, or whatever it is I was talking about, I noticed I lost their attention. They're looking through me, they're looking behind me.
How could anyone not give attention to you?
It's hard to imagine, but they were doing so. And I turn around, I look over my shoulder, and there's Michelle Yu, who has entered from the patio into the press box. Now, this is a horse racing press box, okay? Filled with men.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And just the day prior, there had been some kind of high school field trip. And there were a lot of young men in this group. Now, if those men had been there on this day, those high school boys, they would have become men, okay? Michelle's dress was something I don't think anyone who was in the press box at Churchill Downs on that day will ever forget. It was absolutely something that would stick with you forever. All the more reason why I can't have her as my co-host.
I wish I could have been there.
I wish you could have been there too.
So we could be Schraff, do you like? No. No.
I mean, that part of the catchphrase I think will come with time.
Okay.
I like what you came up with.
The LoneSpeed Show.
Sensual, and what was the other word? Hot.
The most hot, sensual production.
We're gonna make that a thing. Brent Schraff, I'm glad that you're here, and you are now the NHC qualified Brent Schraff.
I am Justin Dew.
And you did it in a spectacular manner.
I did.
You played 2 entries on Horse Players.
Yes.
And finished 1st and 3rd.
I did, and those were only my 2nd and 3rd tries of the year.
If you had been allowed to, you would have won 2 NHC seats that day.
I would have, if I would have been allowed.
And it wasn't like you played the same horses on both entries.
No.
It was a phenomenal performance.
One of my veterans.
So you will be joining the rest of Team LoneSpeed at the NHC in August.
I get to hang out with the cool kids now.
Well, you've been there before. You're certainly no stranger to the NHC. I'm excited about the August NHC. I think it opens the door to a lot of possibilities. It's warm. We have pools that have not come into play.
We have pools. We never get to go to Vegas in August.
Because we're there in February.
It's horrible.
You can't, I mean, that limits your...
Pool time.
It limits a lot of things.
Saves me from getting skin cancer, but you know.
But now you've got a whole new dynamic to the NHC experience, which is Vegas in the summertime.
Nothing better.
Which is why I think we're going to go with a LoneSpeed house.
That could cause arrests to happen, drug problems. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no drug problems. Of course, the police could arrive.
Yeah, the police may come join us.
There are a number of bad things that could happen. So Team LoneSpeed will be there. It's going to be fun. I think the NHC itself in August is a completely different experience, not just from the Vegas aspect, but the tracks. Different tracks, no Tampa Bay Downs in August.
Yeah.
We don't have the Gulfstream Championship meet. We get Ellis Park.
That's a nice one.
I think we get Woodbine. We get Saratoga and Del Mar.
Can't beat that.
No, you can't
Spa,
beat that.
Del Mar,
Right.
best racing in all the world.
I think it is. And it's going to be interesting how the shift to August impacts how people play the NFC. I've got 2 entries. I'm very lucky. I won them. Did you know that I won them 7 days apart?
No, you just had a good week like me.
Yeah, it was a good like 9 days because I won another contest too. It was like a phenomenal. I wish I could have taken those 9 days and maybe replicated them 10 or 15 times throughout the year, but it doesn't work like that.
Did anything bad happen the next week, like catastrophic performances?
There were a number of things. I've told you about so the seats were won March 20th and I think March 27th, and then I got married on April 5th. So that was
the ultimate win.
That was an unbelievable 2-week period to win 2 NHC seats, and I bought a house. Susie and I closed on a house in between there. It was a biblical 2-week period.
You had to know some bad things were coming after that.
Yes, and with the COVID, of course.
Well, there
the
you
world
go.
shut. Of course, COVID had already started by this point, but never.
No, let's go ahead and give you credit. You caused the pandemic.
It was a COVID wedding. We got officially married in a UPS store. Do you know this story?
No, I did not.
All right, I'll go into it some other time. But yes, because we had to get the marriage license notarized, and the banks wouldn't do it, and the courthouse wasn't doing it either. The only place we could find that was notarizing marriage licenses was a UPS store. So our wedding photo was in a UPS. We had a little ceremony in the backyard, and I missed horse racing that day. And I've told you a story about we'll do that on another show. But yes, it was a phenomenal 2 weeks.
So Justin Dew caused the pandemic. But still, because you're Justin Dew, you get things done no matter what. You would not be denied.
I mean, I try. That's all we can do in life is try our best.
Try. Focus forward.
Should we talk some Derby contenders?
Let's do that. Let's get into that next.
All right. So what do you think? What trainer do you want to do first?
I say we start with my main man, Todd Pletcher. He's got 4 ponies in, right?
And I think one of them is perhaps, for the moment, your top pick, maybe. We're still 2 weeks out.
I like 2 of them, but yeah, I'm a giant fan of Known Agenda.
And I think you have to be. I was at Tampa Bay Downs the day he ran in the Sam Davis.
Really?
Yep. And he didn't have blinkers on that day. And he looked like a horse that was a little disinterested in the early going. So in the next start, which was the allowance race, he gets Lasix because it's not a stakes race. And that quirky new Lasix rule doesn't apply. And he gets blinkers for the first time. And the blinkers perhaps woke him up. Perhaps it was the Lasix because he wins by like 11 lengths.
But what happened next?
The Florida Derby. No Lasix.
No Lasix.
Blinker stayed on, and he romped. Ran the best race of his career by far, and you've got to say now he's a very legitimate Derby contender.
And it must have been, the blinkers, but he'll also get the Lasix,
No, he doesn't get Lasix.
Oh, he doesn't get Lasix.
Remember the quirky rules.
Yes.
You haven't been following the very
loose.
Complicated Lasix rules
I am out of date. You're
that
right.
have taken effect in the last, whatever it is, 12 months or so. It's added a completely new dimension to handicapping. Because like in the case of Known Agenda, you don't know if it was the Lasix that helped him or if it was the blinkers that helped him. And so when he's Lasix off in the Florida Derby, we can say, okay, fine, he doesn't need Lasix. He runs the best race of his life without Lasix. Because in the Derby, none of them are going to have it.
No, right.
So I think you have to say Known Agenda is, and you don't need me to tell you this, a major contender for the Derby.
What do you think of Dynamic One? Second in the wood.
What do you like about him?
Not much, to be honest with you.
He lost a lot of ground in the wood. He ran second. He got run down late. He was much closer to the pace than the eventual winner, the other Pletcher.
Sainthood, right? Or no, that was Bourbonic.
Yeah, Bourbonic. Bourbonic's the winner of the wood. So I think you have to take all the Pletchers seriously. Because it just feels like this is the year when one of the Pletchers are going to step up and do something really unexpected. I think you think maybe could be Bourbonic.
Bourbonic reminds me a lot of the 1994 Breeders' Cup Classic Winter Concern. Now, I know that was before your time.
Before
in
my
horse
time.
racing, but
I think I'm older than you, or maybe about the same age. Nevertheless,
I've been in it since I was a kid.
And I wasn't following the sport quite as closely back then. So you have a different frame of reference than I have.
But you showed me some good stuff on Sainthood. I was not a fan, but you showed me some races. So I was like, I don't know.
I've been sucked in to the Pletcher long shot angle in the Derby too many times in the past. Monba, who ran dead last. Spinoff, who I think also ran butt naked last. It's a trap that I've fallen into. And I don't like falling into it. And I don't like about myself the fact that I fall into that trap repeatedly. I'm probably on the verge of at least partially falling into that trap with Sainthood.
Interesting.
Because that career debut, which was at 6 furlongs on the dirt at Gulfstream in January, it was strong. He didn't win, but he ran to me like a horse that wants 2 turns. That was a key race. 4 next out winners from that race.
Really? I didn't know that.
Including Sainthood, who went to the fairgrounds at, I think, 1 1/16 miles for start number 2, and he won by a nose. But if you watch the replay of that race, he got passed in deep stretch and then re-rallied. The horse is a fighter. I think the speed figures, Sainthood isn't there. I don't think Sainthood, in fact, I think everyone agree, Sainthood doesn't really match up on speed figures. But if you can find a way to measure heart and determination, I think Sainthood is a major contender. And then in the Jeff Ruby Stakes at Turfway, on the synthetic, we watched that replay today. He was behind, he got cut off there kind of about, I was inside the quarter pole for sure.
Yeah.
Had some traffic trouble, got free, and almost, if that race is 50 yards longer, he wins the race.
Just kept coming.
And because it was on synthetic, I don't think a lot of folks are going to take that race seriously. His dirt form is solid, but not fast.
Right.
So he's looking like 30, 40, 50 to 1.
Very easily be completely forgotten.
Completely ignored. 3 career starts, but he's owned by Windstar Farm. Do we have a rider yet for Sainthood? I think it's TBD. I think Steve Bick's website, Derby Trail, said it's TBD. Of course, I printed this out yesterday. Maybe things have changed. Things are fast and furious now.
Got to keep up.
We're 2 weeks until the Derby.
Things are going to change even more till then.
So those are the Pletchers. I think we agree Known Agenda is very live. I think Bourbonic and Dynamic One are 2 that maybe you kind of like Bourbonic. I'm a little lukewarm on the other 2 of them. You can't use all 20.
No.
Sainthood is one I know you're not crazy about, but I think is one that is really interesting. Let's go to Baffert.
All right.
So we've talked about the Bafferts, and I kind of think you're still semi-sold on Concert Tour. Maybe not your top play, but there's some things you've liked about him this spring. And
That's true. I mean, if you take him, look at his Rebel Grade 2 race, did wonderfully. I don't think anyone knows what happened in the Arkansas Derby. Baffert said that, he's immature and he just didn't run his race. So if you throw that out, I mean, of the Baffert horses, he's probably my favorite. Who do you like?
Well, here's the thing about Concert Tour and Baffert in general. Going into the last Kentucky Derby back in September, we remember that Authentic, the eventual winner, did not run that impressive a race in the Haskell. He won the Haskell as his final Derby prep, but it looked like he was kind of stepping on his tongue at the end of that race. It was 1 1/8 miles, and I think people were skeptical as to whether or not he could get 1 1/4 miles. What should have been the tip-off there is that he was like 8 to 1 or 9 to 1 in the wagering. Literally not one person I know liked Authentic in the Kentucky Derby. But he was somehow in a 20-horse field or whatever it was, bet down to like 8 or 9 to 1 and wins the race.
Yeah.
So far be it from any of us to question Bob Baffert.
Yeah.
As I understand it as of this moment, and it's Thursday as we're talking here, things change fast and furious in the world of the Kentucky Derby just 2 weeks out. It sounds like Joel Rosario is leaning towards Concert Tour. He was going to be the rider of Hot Rod Charlie. It sounds like Flavian Pratt is going to ride Hot Rod Charlie. Now, I don't know if that's because Rosario wasn't ready to commit. I don't know if it's because he wants to stick with Baffert because he wants that long relationship. I don't know if it's because he thinks Concert Tour is a prime Derby win candidate and maybe better than Hot Rod Charlie. I just don't have any idea. But based on what we saw in the Arkansas Derby, I don't know how you can bet with confidence on Concert Tour in the Kentucky Derby.
I think it's just a bet on Bob Baffert.
It's exactly what it is. And he's also got Medina Spirit, who, as we saw today, got trounced by Rock Your World in the Santa Anita Derby.
Expressed some interest in.
That race, so I picked Rock Your World in the Santa Anita Derby. I didn't expect what we saw. I didn't even really expect him to win. I just thought there was value there. But what impressed me most about Rock Your World in the Santa Anita Derby is he went fast early. He did come home a little slow. But if you watch the replay, watch the gallop out, and I'm not exaggerating, he's 15 or 20 lengths or more clear of the rest of the field into the clubhouse turn on the gallop out. Now that's the gallop out, and I'm not saying it means anything. But, what do you take from that? Are the horses that were behind him, do they not want 1 1/4 miles? Does Rock Your World get better as the distance gets longer? He's undefeated, 3 for 3. He's a stakes winner on grass, and now a grade 1 winner going 2 turns on dirt. They went very quick early. They can't. I'm a little worried about how slowly they came. I mean, it wasn't bad. It was like 39 seconds and change. And there's some historical trend in the Derby about coming home that final 3/8 in your final prep in under 38 seconds. And he doesn't meet that. But he's got, I think, the fastest buyer speed figure in the field.
102.
He's quick. He's quick. We got off track here. Medina Spirit. My take on Medina Spirit, since we're talking about the Bafferts, is, again, how do you play him with confidence? If he had run better in the Arkansas Derby, he might have found his way into my top 2 or 3 for the Kentucky Derby. Because I like those horses that are kind of late developing.
Yeah.
And if he had run a good race there in the Arkansas Derby, maybe you could say he's a Baffert that's rounding into form at the right time. He's got graded stakes wins this year, but he kept running into Life is Good. And I mean, even though he got close in that one race, he was nowhere near Life is Good in terms of overall ability. Nowhere close.
8 lengths the last time.
Yeah. And, just got trounced by Rock Your World. So what do you point to in Medina Spirit's past performances and say, yes, this is what I want to see in a Derby contender? Well, Bob Baffert.
Right. You just don't know.
You just don't know. And then he's got Hosier.
We don't know if that horse is even going to be in.
He was like 6th in the Arkansas Derby. And I think right now, if what I'm reading is correct, he's like 2nd on the bubble. But with 2 weeks, he could get in. Baffert could have 3 starters. Or maybe Hosier doesn't get in. Maybe Contra Tour doesn't go. And he's only got 1, Medina Spirit. I don't know. I think Baffert is one that's always dangerous. You obviously have to take him seriously all the time. And we'll see how his horses train at Churchill Downs.
Just shot for value if you get it.
That's right.
All right. Have we talked about the Tampa Bay Derby yet?
No, I don't think so. Have you been to Tampa Bay Downs?
I have not.
It's basically my home track because I'm Orlando.
That's why I've never been there. I try to stay as far away from you as I can.
It's 2 hours. Well, look, when you live in Orlando, you got to go kind of a ways for horse racing. It's either Tampa Bay Downs, which is like 2 hours. You've got the Sanford Orlando Kennel Club for simulcasting. Okay, the dog track.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, or then Gulfstream, which is like 4 hours away. So Tampa is my place. I love it. It's awesome. If you've never been, we got to do it. They race through, I think, Derby weekend.
Maybe we got to make a road
Why don't
trip.
you make a trip down to Tampa?
I think that'd be a fun time.
Tampa Bay Derby. So
I don't think either of the horses coming out of the Tampa Bay Derby have a snowball's chance and HE double hockey sticks of hitting the board with
I know you think that, and
including with a sign or a map.
Okay, but I want you to take another look at Hidden Stash.
All right.
Okay. Here's my take on Hidden Stash. He started his career with, I'm pretty sure it was 2 sprints, ran okay. Then he had the maiden win at Keeneland, and I don't have my peepees in front of me. Am I right on that? Maiden win at Keeneland?
He did. He broke his maiden at Keeneland.
Okay, and then came right back at
October
Churchill.
24th. Yep.
Churchill, and got the second career win. Then he's off. Then he comes back in the Sam Davis.
Yep.
And runs a really good race for the 3-year-old debut. Yeah, it was a good race. He wasn't going to get to Candyman Rocket, but it was a good effort. Then comes back in the Tampa Bay Derby, and again loses to Helium, who was making his first start of the year, first start out of Woodbine. Then
the Bluegrass,
where he had a little bit of trouble at the top of the stretch and then kind of stopped running. He was never going to threaten the top 2, and we'll get to the top 2 a little bit later. I think Hidden Stash reminds me just a little bit of some of those bombers in the Kentucky Derby that have gotten up for second late. Like, well, for instance, Country House, who was, moved up to first. Golden Soul in 2013 behind Orb. Bluegrass Cat in 06, second behind Barbaro. Commanding Curve, who was second behind California Chrome in whatever year that was. Hidden Stash reminds me just a little bit. I'm not saying he's quite on that level, but he's a hard trier. He always comes running late. I think he'll be among the few, because it's a mile and a quarter.
Yeah.
Most of those horses are done running by the time they get to the quarter pole. And then it's a stagger fest from there. And you've got a few that continue to run on through the wire.
He has that out of the clouds running style. I mean, it does fit.
Yeah,
his running style fits.
I think he'll still be running after a mile and a quarter. And if he is, and a lot of others aren't, I don't see why he can't hit the try.
Yeah, he could maybe sneak in for a chunk.
Is he an exacta candidate? Is he a win candidate? I think that's a little bit of a stretch. But I could see, I'm going to be using Hidden Stash. Helium, I don't know. What's your take on Helium?
Again, I don't see any of the races he's won. I mean, he's 3 for 3, so what are you going to do? But the Tampa Bay Derby, I just don't see that the winner or any of the people that are finishing in the Kentucky Derby are going to come from that race. So
I think, and statistically, you're probably right. If you look at speed figures, you're probably right. But I don't think Helium, there are other, put it this way, I can name 6 or 8 others in the field I like less than Helium. Now, does that make him 10th or 12th most likely winner or whatever? I don't know. I don't think I'll have Helium in the top 2 spots. But if I decide to, go 7, 8, 10 deep in the superfecta for the bottom slots, Helium is a candidate, I think.
Okay.
I think he's a candidate.
Not bad. You don't think you're compromised by being, home field advantage? You're just pulling for your Tampa Bay folks?
No, I'm not, because in the past I've never really been big on Tampa Bay Derby contenders in the Kentucky Derby. So no, I don't think so.
Wanted to make sure our viewing audience was getting a straight story on.
Yeah, they have to get the straight, and that's what you're here for, to keep me honest, and I'm here to keep you honest.
Thank you, sir.
And tell you how handsome you are.
You'll be the first person to keep me honest.
You need a lot of reassurance.
Thank you.
You need
very, very insecure.
Constant reassurance.
Yep.
Let's go straight into the Bluegrass Stakes.
All right.
Okay. And I'm throwing you a curveball here because we haven't talked about this yet.
We have not.
But I want to get into this because Highly Motivated, who ran 2nd in the Bluegrass, I've got a future wager on him at, I believe, if we're getting technical, 25.9 to 1.
Wow.
Chad Brown, Javier Castellano, I've got 500 on. That future wager is worth, I believe, $13,450 to me if Highly Motivated wins the Kentucky Derby. Now, having said that, I'm going to be very frank. I would sell that ticket today for $1,000 if I could get $1,000 for it.
Because you don't think Highly Motivated's got it now?
If you watch the head-on of the stretch run of the Bluegrass Stakes, you will notice that Highly Motivated switches to his wrong lead in about mid-stretch, and he's getting out away from the rail in the final strides. He almost bumped into Essential Quality, who we'll talk about next. To me, and I'm not, I've never trained a racehorse. I'm not a savvy observer of horse quirks. But in my experience, if a horse is switching to his wrong lead and getting out in the stretch, it usually means that horse is kind of at the end of his distance capabilities.
Well, he looked like a sprinter. I'd have thought he was straight up.
But having said that, it was his 2-turn debut. His first time ever going 2 turns. And it's Chad Brown.
They will figure it out.
Right. Chad Brown has gotten Good Magic, who was probably a miler to finish 2nd in the Derby. He got Practical Joke, who we know was a 7-furlong miler, to finish 4th in the Kentucky Derby. So if Chad Brown can do that, he also got Cloud Computing to win the Preakness for the same owners that own Highly Motivated. So if Chad Brown can do that with those horses, what can he do with a horse that's very talented, like I think Highly Motivated is? What can he do? Can he get that horse to 10 furlongs? I don't know. What I do know is I saw something I liked in him. That's why I made the future wager, and I stand to cash a big ticket if he does win the Derby. I don't know that I think he's among the most likely winners, which is why I would sell the ticket if I could.
So you think when he was, when he ran up on Essential Quality, you just think that was his best gear and Essential Quality's got something else?
Well, that's an interesting question. I don't really know. I think that the margin of victory for Essential Quality, it was, a neck or a head or something? I don't know what it was. It was close. At no point did I really think Highly Motivated was going to hold him off. With Essential Quality, it said to me, the best is probably yet to come. With Highly Motivated, it said, we may have just seen the best, at least in terms
of where he was right then.
Well, of 2-turn racing.
Yeah.
This might be a horse we see run in, the Allen Jersey, formerly the Kings, formerly right. 6 furlongs, 7, a 1-turn mile. I think a 1-turn mile.
A power sprinter.
Yeah, the 1-turn miler type thing. And maybe he steals a race at a mile and an eighth here and there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
With Essential Quality, there's nothing you can point at in his past performances that says there's a vulnerability.
No.
He's just rock solid.
In every way.
In every way. Undefeated. Now, 3 of his 5 wins have come at Keeneland, but he won in the slop at Oaklawn. So it's not like he needs Keeneland.
No, you get that blue-collar, gutsy style runner that just no one's going to pass him in the stretch.
Brad Cox, it's a matter of time before he gets a Derby win. He's won everything else. This horse has done quite literally nothing wrong. And the speed figures say he's as fast or faster than anyone else in the field. So,
does it worry you that he may not have that explosive Kentucky Derby winner gear, that everything is darn good? He doesn't have a fault, But does he have that explosive ability? And there's plenty of Kentucky Derby winners that didn't fit that profile too. So
yeah, I don't think there's anything about him that says he doesn't have that Derby profile. When he won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile over Hot Rod Charlie, who was like 99 to 1 or whatever he was in 91, and then third in that I think was I forget the name of the horse that was third in that race, but he was a long shot too. So it kind of just made you wonder if Essential Quality was the only one who showed up in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And keep me in mind, that's a horse I was thinking of, who I think was third in the Breeders' Cup. He's been on the Derby Trail this year too, but nevertheless, Essential Quality is going to be the favorite. He's a deserving favorite, and I can't point at anything in his running lines and say that's why he's not going to win the Kentucky Derby. It's a value play. It's a 20-horse field, and he's going to be
3 to 1
or 4 to 1 or something like that. Is that the kind of price you want to take in a 20-horse field with a wide open Derby field like we have this year?
Chances are, it depends on the bettor, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing too is, and this is so stupid, but because it's Kentucky Derby Day, he's a gray horse. I guarantee you that every uninformed fan is going to walk out and bet the gray one. It's going to drive the odds down even more.
And he's got name recognition too. And also people are going to play by playing him on top and trying to get a long shot to run second.
Yep.
And now I'm not saying that's the worst strategy either, but out of the Bluegrass, I think you have to say that Essential Quality is going to be the deserving Kentucky Derby favorite. As much as I want to say I believe Highly Motivated is a serious Kentucky Derby threat, and he is on talent, he is a threat. If you just go by raw ability, there's something telling me that Highly Motivated doesn't want a mile and a quarter. And that's why I'd sell that future wager if I could.
But if you're wrong, you're $25,000 richer.
Because it's 25, I get 500, so it's 13,450 is what I collect.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
You'll
but I'll take. You want to give me the other $11,000? I'll take it. I'll take that. We'll make it an even 25,000.
All right. So what are some of the other players that we haven't talked about yet?
Before we get into that, what's the dinner plan tonight? Because I'm going to be honest with you, at the hotel where I'm staying, they're not serving food because of COVID. Oh. I guess you North Carolina guys have pretty strict rules here.
We do. We sure do.
Us Floridians, we don't have those kind of restrictions.
It's like
Florida's it's like the Wild West in terms of
COVID doesn't exist there.
It's not far from that.
They just choose not to accept it.
Even on restaurants and grocery where they say wear a mask, if you don't, nobody says anything.
Well, I say we go Indian because the spices just burn out the COVID.
I'm completely out on Indian.
No.
Absolutely out.
It's even worse than one of my taglines that I tried to come up with for the show. You vetoed it so fast.
You know what I'm feeling? How about, you got a good Mexican place around here?
I got a good Mexican place.
Really?
I do.
Do they put when you get the tacos, the ground beef tacos, do they already have the onions and the peppers already mixed in there? Because I don't like that at all. Some places you go, it's already mixed in. I'm a plain guy.
You are a plain guy. I don't know. I've never paid enough attention to anything I've eaten. Because
that's the worst. I hate having to ask the server, if I get tacos, are all the things mixed in there already? And sometimes they say yes. And when that happens, I get a quesadilla. Just a chicken and cheese quesadilla.
You're one of those people I don't eat out with much.
Right. My taste in food are not good, according to most people. The horses we haven't touched on, at the top of the list has to be Hot Rod Charlie.
Oh, yes. Probably, second or third choice? Probably get 6, 7 to 1 on him.
So what I don't get there, Joel Rosario rode him in the Louisiana Derby. And I just kind of thought, after Concert Tour lost the Arkansas Derby, that's where the Rosario was going to end up. And based on what I'm reading on horse racing Twitter, which as we know is never wrong about anything.
Ever.
It sounds like Flavian Pratt is committed for Doug O'Neill to ride Hot Rod Charlie.
I did not know that. That's surprising.
So I don't know what that says. And we may have touched on this in an earlier segment with Rosario maybe choosing Baffert. Is that because he wants to stay loyal to Baffert? Is that because he likes Concert Tour better than Hot Rod Charlie? I don't know if we really know what to make of that. At least you and I don't. Just as horse players, we don't know.
Insider's look, I guess.
But I think you like Hot Rod Charlie.
I do. I mean, came on strong at the end of the year in the BC Juvenile, and then ran in the Lewis Stakes and ran second there. Popped the 100 on the Bayer Speed Figure Land.
Yeah. So I think he's one that you have to take seriously. Mm-hmm. Now, was it 100 Bayer or was it 100 Brisnet Speed Figure? I think it was. I think it was the Brisnet Speed Figure.
He hasn't.
By the way, thanks to the people at Brisnet for providing us with these past performances that we're using for this show.
Oh, how nice is that?
Very nice, because I'm telling you, the Brisnet PPs, they've got some advantages over other past performances. And nobody's paying me to say this. Nobody's paying me to say anything.
No, I know that's what you use.
It's probably going to be like, literally, if we're lucky, dozens of people will watch this. Literally dozens of people.
And I would say maybe 1/12 of those will pay you, and that'll probably be Steve DeCasper, so he'll send us each $1.
Right. I would gladly accept that $1. So I think Hot Rod Charlie is live. He lost to the Medina Spirit in the Lewis, comes back, wins Louisiana Derby. Super impressive effort. You've got to think he's going to be primed and ready for a big effort in the Kentucky Derby. And I know he's going to be on your tickets, and he'll be somewhere on mine. Ultimately, you have to make these types of tough decisions with a lot of horses in the Derby, because if you've got 20, even if you can throw out half the field, you can't bet all 10 that are left.
Yep.
You can't play a superfecta with 10 horses in the top position.
You're right.
It's not going to work.
You're going to get value. Believe in Doug O'Neill. Keeps moving in the right direction. There's nothing not to like.
Very live. We didn't talk about either of the Asmussens.
I was just going to say to you, what do you think of them?
Superstock and Midnight Bourbon. I'm just not emotionally prepared to discuss either of those horses just yet.
I see.
I don't know where I'm going to end up on them. I need to watch more replays. I need to think more. I need to drift off to sleep at night thinking about those horses more.
Okay.
And I'm just not there yet. So I have no opinion yet.
Okay.
They could be prominent on my tickets. They might be off completely. We just don't know. And we didn't talk about Brad Cox's other two. We talked about Essential Quality. Didn't talk about Mandaloun or Mandaloun or Caddo River. And Caddo River is the one who outgamed Concert Tour late for second in the Arkansas Derby.
Don't you feel like that's one of those horses that just may have had his best day?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And Mandaloun, kind of the same thing, kind of inexplicably bad in the Louisiana Derby. I don't know what to make of that either. You know, horses do run bad races. I think it's been, I wish I had the stats in front of me. It's been a long time since a horse ran, I think, 5th or worse in his final Derby prep and won the Derby. Hope I'm not botching that stat. But the fact that he ran, wherever it was, 5th or 6th in his final prep, historically doesn't bode well for that horse. Caddo River, you know, what do you make of his Arkansas Derby? I mean, he came back and he fought and he passed Concert Tour late, but he got beat by a horse that was relatively unaccomplished in Superstock.
Yeah, and Superstock's kind of like the for those that have been paying attention a while, it's like the Kissing Chris. Like, will be in every major race and just give you the best 4th or 3rd that you've ever seen. Just never leaves that 5, 6, 4, 3 position the whole race.
Yeah, but sometimes those horses are the ones that get up for like second in the Kentucky Derby.
I don't know. I just don't see that gear in Superstock, but maybe, who knows?
I need to think about it more. Who else does that leave us? We've gotten to, I think, we didn't talk about Dream Shake, who I don't think I'm going to be using. We didn't talk about Soup and Sandwich, who John Velasquez just opted off of to ride Medina Spirit. Soup and Sandwich second behind your known agenda in the Florida Derby. That's another one I haven't given a lot of thought to, but I think, you know, there are a number of horses you want to see how they train at Churchill Downs.
Right.
And the news comes out fast and furious because we're, starting this weekend. I don't know when the horses, they usually have their final work that weekend right before the Kentucky Derby, like it was Friday to Sunday, somewhere in there.
Right. And Soup and Sandwich is only raced, what, like 3 times maybe?
He's lightly raced.
So very lightly raced. So you just don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. And I think that's pretty much, Obesos, who was, I needed Obesos to get up for second in the Louisiana Derby. He didn't get there. He came flying late. I know a lot of really good handicappers, a lot of sharp horse players that are interested in Obesos. To me, that kind of horse usually seems like a bit of a sucker play in the Derby. People think, as the distance gets longer, he's going to get better. In my experience, it's not those deep closers that run really, really big in the Kentucky Derby.
Right. Do you like Crowded Trade at all? 3rd in the Wood.
Late breaking news, last 24 hours, he's out. He's not going in the Kentucky Derby.
Keep up. That's why I hang out with you.
That's why you need to be on racing Twitter. That's why I've been tweeting at you for weeks.
I'm trying.
You're never on there.
I know. It's been a busy couple weeks.
I know. You've got a life outside of horse racing.
Very much in demand.
I know you are. You're a very, very popular man.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much it.
Caddo River, we talked about him. Like the King? No.
Well, we didn't talk about him. Like the King. So that's the horse that beat Sainthood in the Jeff Ruby Stakes. Ran a good race. Seems like more of a turf synthetic horse, maybe a little bit. I'll dive into him deeper in the next couple of weeks. I think when all is said and done, the horse that I'm going to like out of the Jeff Ruby Stakes, if I like anybody, is Sainthood. More likely to be that play. We talked about Hosier. Get Her Number, who was 4th in the Arkansas Derby for Peter Miller. Kind of interesting Grade 1 winner as a 2-year-old. May have needed the Arkansas Derby a little bit. I want to see how that horse trains. A little bit intriguing. And I think out of the 20 horses, Brent, that are going to be in the field, I may have drawn a line through, what, 3 of them?
I think we've effectively helped our audience eliminate maybe
nothing.
1/20.
Basically nobody.
Yes.
Basically nobody.
Effectively nothing.
Yeah.
Well, we're supposed to be hot and sexy. We're not supposed to be knowledgeable.
You're the dream. Sensuous and hot, the
Sensuous.
hottest show. Whatever slogan you came up with,
We're keeping it.
we're keeping it. We're
I
gonna
wrote
open
it down somewhere.
We're going to open the
on an
show with it for
envelope.
sure from now on.
Absolutely.
So we're about 2 weeks from the Derby.
Yeah.
Where are you watching it?
I will be watching it in my living room with my children. We're going to be teaching them how to gamble.
Here in North Carolina,
Yes.
where they've got, if I remember correctly, very quirky wagering rules. It's hard to get a bet down.
It's basically impossible. You need to know the governor in order to bet on a horse race here in North Carolina.
So will you be wagering with household chores, for instance?
Yes, household chores, yard work. We may throw some jelly beans in a basket, but we don't gamble here in North Carolina.
What happens if your daughter hits the superfecta cold? What does she win? Anything?
I think she will just win her father's love.
Okay, well that's worth way more
I think
than a
so.
superfecta.
It also
on
puts
Derby.
very conditional standards on love in my house, which I stand by. There's no participation awards.
Unconditional love is a little overrated, if you want my
Yes,
opinion.
I agree.
Have you been to the Derby?
No, I have not.
And we know that because why?
Well, because in a segment that hopefully will never be aired, that no one will see anyway, because we said only 12 people were going to see this, I said, yes, I have been up to the Kentucky Derby, and realized that my trip with my best friend Steve DeCasper is to Lone Star Park to see the Breeders' Cup.
Which he clarified for you off camera just moments ago.
What was the event that we went to? And we've been to 2 Breeders' Cups, but never been to the Kentucky Derby. It was 2004, and I watched Ghost Zapper win the Breeders' Cup Classic.
So, Ghost Zapper, I identified him as the Breeders' Cup Classic winner 6 months before he won the Classic.
Really?
I tried to get a bet down with a buddy who lived in Vegas. He said, it's 25-1. Do you want it? I said, absolutely. He drives to the casino to place a bet, and he goes, it's 12-1 now. I'm like, never mind, don't bet it. Forget it. I'll bet him on Breeders' Cup Day. When he was 5-2, and at that point, I didn't bet him. I bet Azeri, who finished 5th. So from identifying Ghost Zapper as the Breeders' Cup Classic winner at 25-1, 6 months out, to having not one penny on him, that's my Ghost Zapper story.
Well, the fact that you can remember your Ghost Zapper story, and I can't even remember why I was there. or
You
where
thought
I
it was the Kentucky Derby.
41st Dates was written about me. Groundhog Day.
So I've been to a lot of Kentucky Derbies, and it's a lot of fun. It's a great experience. It's gotten a little more crowded in recent years. Now, maybe this year's different because of the COVID restrictions and what have you.
Are you going to go?
I don't know. I doubt that I go this year. I
Okay.
doubt it.
Does Susie want to go?
She's dying to go.
Oh,
She wants to wear the dress and the hat and the
yeah,
whole thing.
she would look great that way.
Yeah, she would. She looks great anyway.
That's right.
Because I'm a very lucky man.
You are very lucky.
Got that, baby? I know how lucky I am. I want to say I really appreciate you putting all this together. This studio, the LoneSpeed studio, is actually your home.
It is. It is. Don't
And-
give that address out.
I'm not.
Okay.
I would never do that. I mean, I'll give it out to some local college kids that are coming over late night, but they're the only ones I'm giving the
Only
address
them.
to. I don't know when we're going to do this next. I would love to do this once a week. I don't think I can come to Wilmington once a week, but who knows? Maybe we set up the LoneSpeed remote office at my home.
Yes.
And you've got your own studio.
A multi-state LoneSpeed studio. I like it.
Yeah, lights, camera, everything.
Yeah.
The whole thing. I think this was a lot of fun. I appreciate you doing it. We got 2 weeks to the Derby. We both have a lot of homework to do.
Yes.
And in the meantime, Keeneland has a crazy Saturday card that we need to handicap.
We probably should.
And your Twitter followers are going to want to know what you like in the pick 4 there.
All right.
So you better get to it. Thanks, Brent.
Thank you, Justin. Go LoneSpeed.